They say there are words that resonate in the soul like an eternal echo, and that when they come from heaven, they cannot be ignored. For centuries, the Virgin Mary has spoken to humanity through her apparitions, warning, consoling, and pleading. But among all her revelations, there is one that provokes silence and trembling, the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness. This is not a fabricated story or an apocalyptic myth. It is a message repeated in different places at different times, and through humble souls who received visions so profound that the world has not been able to forget them. At La Salette, Our Lady wept. At Fatima, her face showed pain. At Garabandal, she spoke of the warning that would precede a great chastisement. And at Medjugorje, she announced that humanity was approaching the point where mercy and justice would intersect. A darkness so profound will come that the eyes will not be able to see even their own hand, Our Lady said in one of those revelations. But those who remain in prayer, those who trust in my Son, will be protected under my mantle. No one knows the day or the hour, but the signs are already here. The skies have changed. The weather has become unpredictable. The seas roar with unprecedented force, and violence has multiplied like a shadow falling over cities. Hearts have grown cold. Families are divided. Wars have returned to the dawn of our era, and the soul of the world feels weary. Everything seems to announce something that modern man does not want to hear, that the time of trial is approaching. And in the midst of this collective blindness, Mary's maternal voice speaks again, not with threats, but with a tenderness that pierces fear. She doesn't come to instill terror, but to prepare. She doesn't come to punish, but to protect those who still listen. Because yes, there is a plan from heaven that was revealed through apparitions and that many have ignored. A plan that isn't about surviving physically, but about resisting spiritually when the world shuts down. For 3 days, Our Lady said, the sun will set and the earth will be plunged into a night without dawn. But those who pray, those who bless their homes, those who do not fear, will see my light shine from within. They are not words of fear, but of mercy. Because Mary knows that man only awakens when darkness touches him, and perhaps that is why his prophecies do not seek to frighten, but rather to awaken the sleeping soul. There's something sacred about these warnings. Each word seems designed to touch the deepest part of the human heart, as if heaven were shouting, there's still time. But time for what? To reconcile you, to bless your home, to ignite faith before the world's electricity goes out. Mary does not speak to the politician or the wise man, but to the father of a family, to the mother who prays in silence, to the old man who looks at the sky with tears, and to the young man who feels that something great is about to happen. She repeats over and over, do not be afraid, but be prepared. And that's where this story becomes a personal call, a direct invitation to you who are listening. Because if this message has reached your ears, it is no coincidence. The Virgin herself has chosen you to hear the instructions that will soon be revealed. And while the world mocks or sleeps, those who believe begin to awaken. Because within the human soul, there is an intuition that never fails. When heaven warns, the heart feels that something is approaching. And when Mary speaks, her children listen. But listen carefully. The 3 days of darkness are not just a physical event. They are also a spiritual test, a purification that will bring each soul face to face with its truth. The outer darkness will be a reflection of the inner darkness of the world, and only the light of the faithful soul will be able to resist. Therefore, in this message, the first in this series, you must prepare not with fear, but with faith. Because in the next chapters, we will reveal the exact instructions that the Virgin left. What objects should be in your home? What words should your lips pronounce? What attitude should your heart have to survive not only the blackout of the world, but also the silent judgment of the soul? But before moving forward, listen carefully. Those who prepare with love will be the new builders of the light. When the darkness passes, they will be the first to see the dawn of a purified world. Thus begins the prophecy that shook the world. And you have just entered it. Every prophecy of heaven has witnesses. They are not always great figures or doctors of the faith, but simple souls, chosen to receive what the world does not want to see. It was like this from the beginning. When the Virgin appears, she doesn't seek power or fame. She seeks hearts willing to listen. And it was precisely those humble hearts that were the first to hear about the 3 days of darkness. Over the last century, different messengers in different countries received similar visions. A darkness that would cover the earth, total silence, the air becoming heavy, and an inner light that only the righteous could see. Each one described it in different words, but they all agreed on the same thing. The world would be purified, and only faith would keep the flame burning. In Italy, blessed Anna Maria Taigi spoke of a supernatural night that would last 3 days. In that darkness, she said, not even ordinary candles could be lit, but only those that had been blessed. In France, the psychic Marie-Julie Jeheni warned that windows should remain closed, that no one should look outside because what would move in the street would not be human. In America, some mystics received dreams in which the sky turned red and a fiery wind blew as if the air itself were being purified by the fire of God. Different voices, different times, but one message. Heaven repeats with infinite patience what humanity does not want to believe, because while man runs after material things, the soul of the world withers, and Mary, with her wounded heart, calls again. It's not about fear, it's about love. The love of a mother who cannot bear to see her children lost in the darkness. Therefore, when she chooses a witness, she does it not to scare, but to prepare. And each of them, from their solitude, faced disbelief, mockery, and rejection, only to leave a warning that has meaning again today. Many of those messages remained hidden or were forgotten. Some writings were lost, others were silenced, but the voice of heaven never completely fades. As the time draws near, the prophecies ring out again, as if an invisible bell were awakening the souls who can still be saved. The Virgin spoke, and her echo crossed generations. And now, in our time, those voices are intertwined with the signs we can all see. The skies darken before unexpected storms. The earth trembles where it once slept. Fire bursts forth from places that seemed safe. Nature, some say, is screaming, but those with faith know it's not the earth. It's heaven that's speaking. Witnesses of the past left us clear instructions, although few took them seriously. It's not enough to know the prophecy. You have to be prepared. Mary asked for blessed candles, purified water, sacred images in homes, constant prayer, and unwavering faith. He asked families to unite, to pray together, and to trust in God more than in any human power. Because when darkness comes, there will be no technology or money that can protect anyone. Only faith, prayer, and love will be the true refuge. But there is something deeper that unites all the witnesses. Each one spoke of an inner light, a radiance that came not from any lamp, but from the soul that lives in grace. That light will be the only one capable of piercing the darkness of the world. Therefore, the 3 days are not just a physical warning, but a call to rekindle the flame of the Spirit before it is too late. Every prophet, every seer, every humble messenger left a piece of the puzzle. And today, that puzzle is almost complete. The pieces that once seemed scattered begin to come together before our eyes. Wars, plagues, moral confusion, loss of faith. Everything is written, and everything is slowly being fulfilled, while the distracted world looks the other way. But Maria doesn't tire. She's still looking for willing hearts, people like you, who didn't get here by chance. Because if you're hearing these words, it's because something inside you knows that these warnings aren't just old tales. They are live warnings, they are personal calls, and now, heaven is choosing its messengers for the end times. You too can be one of them, not with prophetic words, but with your testimony, with your faith, with your way of resisting, with your constant prayer. Every soul that prays silently is a spark that keeps the light burning amidst the approaching darkness. Thus spoke heaven through its witnesses, and in the next message we will reveal the signs that will precede those 3 days, because before darkness covers the earth, there will be visible warnings, signs that attentive hearts will recognize. And when they arrive, those who have prepared themselves will understand that it wasn't fear, it was mercy. The modern world has learned to speak without listening. He has learned to scream without feeling, to look without seeing, and to touch without understanding. And in the midst of this confusion, the sky remains silent. Not because God has moved away, but because humanity needs to listen with the heart, not the ears. And that silence, intense and profound, is felt like a growing emptiness in the soul, an emptiness that men call loneliness, fear, hopelessness. For centuries, prophets and seers have described this moment, a time when humanity, trapped in its pride and vices, will face the judgment of its own hearts. The 3 days of darkness will not only be physical, they will be spiritual. Every impure thought, every hurtful word, every act of selfishness will be reflected in a world that darkens from within. Children will cry inconsolably, the elderly will seek peace in distant memories, and those who have abandoned the faith will feel the pressure of a void they will not know how to fill. Mary has spoken, and her words are clear. Do not be afraid, but be prepared. For even though the world falls into confusion, even though the night seems eternal, divine light is reserved for those who trust. She warns us that there is no salvation in human strength, nor in power, nor in money. The only true protection lies in unwavering faith and constant prayer. Imagine for a moment a city plunged into total darkness, deserted streets, streetlights off, windows closed. The silence is so absolute that even the heartbeat seems to resonate louder than any known noise. And in that scenario, humanity's cries don't reach heaven because heaven is already listening. Listen to the humble, the repentant, those who recognize their fragility and seek refuge in the light of God. Maria warns that this cry is not a punishment, but a call to wake up, that the despair of many will be the opportunity for sanctification for others, and those who remain steadfast in prayer and the blessing of their homes will be witnesses of divine mercy. Every soul that maintains its faith is a spark that lights up the darkness, an invisible beacon that guides those who are lost. But it is not enough to believe. It is not enough to remember the words of the visionaries. The message demands action. Consecrated houses, blessed candles, purified water, crucifixes, rosaries, and the constant repetition of prayers that strengthen the spirit. Maria explains that these practices are not superstitions, but rather tools of light. They are the shield that will protect the family, the community, and the soul itself during the deepest night that humanity has ever experienced. God's silence is also proof. Because man must learn to trust without seeing, to believe without touching, to hope without despairing. The cry of humanity then is not a protest against darkness, but a plea for guidance, a recognition that without God, nothing can sustain. And in that silent cry, Maria listens. Listen to every tear, every prayer, every intention for purification. Because the love of a divine mother never rests and is always ready to intervene when the heart turns to faith. Now the internal preparation begins. Before physical darkness, we must ignite the light of the soul. Before the city falls silent, we must speak to God from the heart. Before the 3 days begin, the family must unite in prayer, forgiveness, and blessing. In the upcoming chapters, precise instructions will be revealed to protect not only the physical life, but also the soul and spiritual integrity of all family members. But first, understand this. Darkness is not an enemy. It is a mirror. It reflects what each being has cultivated within themselves: fear, pride, sin, or faith, hope and love. Only those who have understood this message will be ready to face the night without losing the light that God has placed within them. Because true salvation is not what is obtained from the world, but what is conquered in the heart. And as you listen to these words, remember, this message did not arrive by chance. It's a direct call to wake up, to prepare, and to be a light in the midst of a world that will soon discover how dark it can be. When the Virgin Mary speaks of the 3 days of darkness, she's not just warning about the night that will cover the earth. It also speaks of a spiritual and physical refuge that must be prepared in advance, a place where faith and inner light will be a shield and hope in the face of what is to come. That refuge, says Mary, is not built with bricks or steel, but with prayer, blessing, and obedience to divine will. Every home that wishes to survive needs to become a sanctuary. Mary instructs us to place crucifixes in visible places, not out of superstition, but because they represent the royal protection of Christ. Images of saints and the Virgin Mary should be present, as they act as a constant reminder of faith and divine love. And blessed candles are not mere objects. They are bearers of sacred light, capable of dispelling shadows that no man can face alone. Holy water plays a fundamental role. It is recommended to spray it in the corners of each room, over doors and windows, and spray it on family members at the beginning of the night. This simple act, repeated with faith, creates a spiritual shield that the Virgin promises will protect both the physical life and the soul of those who live in the house. Maria insists, the windows must remain closed and the doors secured. It is not an act of fear, but of obedience. Darkness will bring confusion, and temptation may come disguised as a family member or friend, attempting to deceive even the strongest of hearts. Whoever keeps the house closed, blessed and full of prayer, will be protected from these influences. Spiritual preparation is as important as physical preparation. Each family member should pray regularly, confess, forgive, and ask for forgiveness. Rosaries are not an empty ritual. Each Hail Mary recited with faith is a sword of light that cuts through the darkness and strengthens the soul. Mary reminds us that family unity and shared devotion multiply protection. A family that prays together becomes a living refuge, an invisible wall that not even the densest night can penetrate. Food and water are secondary. During the 3 days, divine providence will be sufficient for those who trust fully. True sustenance comes from the Spirit and constant prayer. It's not about fearing hunger, but about recognizing that true survival depends on faith, obedience, and the sanctity of the home. Mary also speaks of inner silence. During these days, all distractions from the world should be avoided. The telephone, television, electrical appliances, nothing can replace communion with God. It is a time to focus on the essentials: the protection of the soul and family, prayer, and the purification of the heart. The shelter does not need to be large or luxurious. It is enough that it is full of spiritual light. Every prayer, every blessing, every act of faith turns an ordinary home into an impregnable castle against the forces of darkness. And Mary assures us that those who prepare with love and devotion when the 3rd day arrives will be the first to feel the light illuminate the earth once again. But preparation must begin now, before nightfall. It is not an act of fear, but of love. Love for family, for faith, and for life itself. Every detail counts, from the arrangement of sacred objects to the purity of the thoughts of those who live in the house. Mary says that even the smallest act of faith has a multiplying effect on spiritual refuge. And as you close doors and windows, as you place candles and bless every corner, remember that you are not alone. The Virgin accompanies you, heaven watches over you, and every prayer is heard. This refuge is not just physical, it is an act of commitment to God, a declaration that faith is stronger than any darkness that may fall upon the world. In the next chapters, we'll delve into what lies ahead during the night, how to recognize the signs of danger, and how to face the darkest moments with courage and devotion. But now, start with your home, start with your family, and start with your heart. Because the sealed house is the first step toward survival and the first act of faith in the days to come. When night falls and the sunlight disappears, it's not just the outside world that shuts down. The inner test is turned on. Maria warns that during the 3 days of darkness, there will be sounds that modern man is not prepared to hear, whispers, wailing, footsteps that seem to be approaching, shadows that move of their own volition. It's not imagination, nor exaggerated fear. They are manifestations of forces that don't obey human logic, but that the faithful heart can recognize and resist. Witnesses of the apparitions have described these moments in harrowing detail. In Garabandal, some souls saw shadows that seemed familiar, but their intentions were dark. Only prayer and divine protection kept them safe. In other visions, the wind brought confusing voices, trying to sow panic and disobedience. And Mary insists, we must not look, we must not listen with fear, just maintain faith and concentration on God. The cry in the night is not just a physical sound, but a call to discern. Every shadow, every whisper, tests the faith and strength of the heart. Those who doubt may succumb to terror, while those who trust in divine protection will feel an inexplicable peace, even when everything around them seems chaotic. The night is a mirror of the inner darkness of each being. Those who have cultivated faith, prayer, and family unity will see that the shadows cannot touch them. Mary gives concrete instructions for dealing with these moments. First, stay calm. Constant prayer is the key to protecting your home. Second, recite the names of family members while blessing themselves, invoking individual protection. Third, do not open windows or doors, even if the noises mimic familiar voices. Fourth, use blessed candles and repeat the rosaries clearly, because each word strengthens the spiritual shield. During these days, the mind may be tempted to give in to fear. The heart can feel despair, but Mary remembers. Every fear faced with faith becomes strength. Every prayer repeated in silence becomes light that pierces the darkness. It's not about running away, but about standing firm, trusting that heaven protects those who obey its instructions. Witnesses also describe a curious phenomenon. Those who help each other, who support each other with love and devotion, perceive darkness differently. While most see only shadows and confusion, they feel a warm presence, an invisible cloak that envelops them and makes them invulnerable to the attacks of the night. It is the tangible manifestation of the protection of every moment of those days will be crucial. Patience and spiritual vigilance are weapons as powerful as prayer itself. There is no time for distractions or doubts. Vigilance is not an act of fear, but of obedience and love for one's family and one's own soul. Maria insists the inner light must remain on. Every candle, every crucifix, every prayer is a beacon that guides the soul and protects the lives of those you love. During the cry of the night, even small faith multiplies if it is practiced with humility and perseverance. And when the most intense trial comes, those who have prepared their spirit will see the difference between the fear that destroys and the faith that saves. The lesson is clear. It is not enough to prepare physically. The outer refuge is useless if the inner refuge is filled with doubt, resentment, or selfishness. The cry in the night is a test of faith, a test of love and endurance. Those who survive spiritually will be the first to see the light return, illuminating every corner of the earth and the human heart. In the upcoming chapters, Maria will reveal the final instructions for protecting one's home, family, and soul, and how each act of faith becomes a shield during the darkest night. Those who endure to the end will not only receive guidance, but also the blessing of a powerful prayer that will protect the entire family. Mary not only warns, but guides. After centuries of revelations, he has left precise instructions for those who wish to protect their home and family during the 3 days of darkness. These are not suggestions, but spiritual steps that combine faith, obedience, and physical preparation, creating an invulnerable refuge from the forces of darkness. First, constant prayer. Each family member should pray daily, strengthening their connection with God and strengthening the inner light that no one can extinguish. It is recommended to begin by praying the Rosary, followed by specific prayers of protection, asking for the intercession of the Virgin, invoking the name of Christ, and blessing each family member by name. Mary emphasizes that these acts must be done with devotion and not out of routine, because living faith is what activates divine protection. Second, prepare the home physically. Place crucifixes in visible places, on doors, windows, and main walls. It's not about superstition, but about showing faith. Images of saints and the Virgin Mary should be present, especially in spaces where families gather, to constantly remind us of God's presence and maternal protection. Blessed candles should be lit at the beginning of the night, preferably made of pure wax, and placed in strategic locations in the house, avoiding drafts that could extinguish them. Third, holy water. Maria recommends spraying corners, doors, and windows, as well as each room where family members spend the most time. It can even be sprinkled on the bodies themselves at the beginning of the night, repeating the name of each family member while performing this act of faith. Each drop becomes an invisible shield against the darkness and evil influences that will try to enter. Fourth, secure the entrances. Doors and windows must remain closed throughout the period of darkness. It is not an act of fear, but of obedience. Mary warns that shadows can imitate human voices to deceive the faithful. Therefore, discipline is essential. Not opening or looking outside protects both physical and spiritual life. Fifth, the family unit. Joint prayer strengthens protection. Every family member should participate, reciting prayers and blessings aloud, keeping their attention on God and avoiding distractions. Maria explains that spiritual light multiplies when it is shared with love and devotion, making the family a truly invincible refuge. Sixth, purification of the soul. Before the 3 days, each person must be reconciled with God and with others. Forgiving and asking for forgiveness, confessing mistakes, and strengthening the relationship with the divine prepares the spirit to withstand the test. Without inner purity, physical refuge will not suffice. Outer darkness reflects the darkness of the soul, and only inner light will allow it to be endured. Seventh, stay calm. During the days of darkness, sounds and shadows will try to sow fear. Mary teaches that every inner cry or doubt must be faced with prayer and trust. Fear is not an enemy to be eliminated, but an opportunity to demonstrate faith. Every act of calm, every repetition of the Rosary, or a prayer of protection strengthens the invisible shield that protects the family. Eighth, preparation of what is necessary. Although material things are secondary, it is advisable to have water and simple food, additional candles, and sacred elements ready. True sustenance comes from the Spirit, but physical prudence is also part of the preparation that Mary advises. Finally, remember that protection is divine. Each instruction has a spiritual purpose. Shelter is not limited to objects, but depends on the heart and faith of those who live in the house. Mary promises that those who faithfully follow these instructions will receive her direct protection, and light will return to the world along with divine mercy. In the upcoming chapters, we'll explain how to face the most intense trials during the night, how to recognize the danger signs, and how to maintain faith even when all seems lost. Those who endure to the end will also receive the powerful prayer that will bless and protect the entire family. a gift from Mary to the faithful who remain until the very end. When the 3 days of darkness begin, the true challenge will not only be the absence of external light, but the internal testing of each heart. Mary warns that fear can arise even in the most faithful, and that darkness has the ability to reflect all the doubts, insecurities, and fears hidden in the soul. Therefore, maintaining faith is the first line of defense, more powerful than any physical protection. During these days, the sounds of the world will disappear, and in their place will appear confused voices, whispers, and shadows that will try to disturb the mind. Some will feel an intense pressure, as if darkness wanted to penetrate even the most secret thoughts. But Mary remembers, the inner light is invincible when it is nourished with prayer and trust in heaven. Every word of faith, every prayer repeated with devotion, strengthens the heart and keeps safe those who trust. It's not about ignoring reality, but about transcending it. Those who manage to remain calm and focus on divine protection will experience a peace that does not come from the world. It is a peace that strengthens the family, the home, and the spirit, and serves as a shield against the despair that lurks around every corner. Mary insists, family unity and love multiply protection, turning each shared prayer into an invisible wall against darkness. The Virgin also teaches that faith activates protection in a tangible way. Reciting the names of family members while blessing them strengthens the refuge, and each candle lit with devotion illuminates not only the home, but also the souls of those who participate. It is a constant reminder that light does not depend on the outside world, but on internal commitment to God and obedience to His instructions. Additionally, Maria suggests keeping your mind occupied with acts of kindness and prayer. Singing hymns, reciting psalms, and repeating prayers of protection strengthens the spiritual connection. There is no more powerful distraction from fear than focusing on the divine. The heart that does not give up becomes a beacon for others, guiding those who doubt or tremble and demonstrating that faith can overcome even the most intense trials. During these days, negative thoughts may try to infiltrate: hopelessness, anger, doubts about divine protection. Mary explains that recognizing these temptations and facing them with active prayer transforms them into opportunities for spiritual growth. Every internal challenge overcome strengthens the strength of the home and ensures the spiritual survival of the family. Maria also reminds us that humility is key. It is not about pride or demonstration, but about total surrender to the divine plan. Those who accept their vulnerability and rely solely on God during these days will find themselves protected in extraordinary ways. The Virgin promises that even the most fearful hearts can experience unexpected strengthening when they trust fully. The outer silence then becomes an opportunity to listen to the inner voice and divine guidance. Every moment of calm, every repeated prayer, every act of faith increases the inner light and keeps the darkness at bay. Mary assures us that those who persevere to the end will not only survive physically, but will also emerge purified, strengthened, and blessed. In the following chapters, we will reveal the signs that will precede the most difficult moments, how to recognize active divine protection, and finally, the powerful prayer that will protect the entire family, a gift that only those who remain faithful until the very end will receive. As the 3 days of darkness unfold, the Virgin Mary reveals that those who have followed her instructions will not be alone. Although the outside world may seem to be in chaos, there will be signs that indicate divine presence and protection. Mary speaks of these signs as beacons in the night, visible only to those who have faith and have prepared their home and their heart. The first sign is inner calm. In the midst of absolute silence, those who pray and maintain family unity will feel an inexplicable peace. The heart ceases to fear and the mind becomes calm. The anxiety that dominates the outside world fails to penetrate the refuge of faith. Mary says this peace is proof that heaven is present, acting invisibly to protect those who trust fully. The second sign manifests itself in the inner light. It is not a physical light, but a spiritual glow that illuminates every heart and every corner of the home. Those who pray together experience a sense of warmth and clarity, as if a divine spark were piercing the darkness, showing that faith keeps the flame alive, that no evil can extinguish. Maria explains that this glow is also a shield against any shadows that try to infiltrate the shelter. The third sign is the response of the blessed objects. Candles that remain lit untouched, sacred images that seem to radiate peace, and holy water that remains an impenetrable barrier all indicate that Mary's protection has been activated. Every gesture of obedience and devotion enhances the effectiveness of these elements, transforming the preparation into an act of light that repels darkness. The fourth sign is the feeling of accompaniment. Even though the night is silent and desolate, those who maintain the faith feel the presence of angels and the Spirit of Mary herself. It is not a fear of emptiness, but the certainty that they are not alone, that divine vigilance is upon them, and that every act of prayer strengthens the protection around the home and family. The fifth sign is found in resistance to temptation and fear. Mary warns that darkness will try to deceive with illusions, voices of confusion, or apparitions that mimic reality. But those who trust in divine instructions recognize these trials and face them with prayer and calm. Each challenge overcome is a confirmation that protection is active and that the light of heaven will not allow the family to succumb. The sixth sign manifests itself in family unity. Shared faith multiplies protection. Members who pray together, bless the house, and support each other feel that the night cannot separate them or affect their spirit. Mary emphasizes that the strength of a devoted family is one of the pillars that keeps divine protection intact during the darkest days. Finally, Maria assures that these signs are not a coincidence. These are clear messages for those who obey. Faith activates protection, and devotion turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Every candle, every prayer, every act of forgiveness, every moment of calm reinforces an invisible shield that no evil can penetrate. The Virgin promises that those who recognize and trust in these signs will live the night without harm, and with the certainty that the light will return. In the following chapters, we will enter the most critical moments of darkness, when the shadows attempt to confuse even the faithful, and we will prepare the final, powerful prayer that will protect the entire family and reward those who remain to the end with divine blessing and guidance. Beloved sons and daughters of Mary, we have walked together this path of revelation, preparation, and faith. We have learned to face darkness not only with blessed objects, but with hearts filled with prayer, love, and obedience to God. We have understood that the 3 days of darkness are not only a test of the outside world, but a mirror that reflects the strength of each soul. Now, as we come to the end of this message, it is time to seal divine protection upon every home, every heart, and every family member. Mary reminds us that the most powerful light is always born of faith, and that no one is left unprotected when they invoke her name and follow her instructions. Repeat this prayer with me with faith and devotion. Powerful prayer for family protection. Lord God Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, today we come before you with humility and an open heart. We invoke the protection of the Virgin Mary over our home and our family. We cover every door, every window, every corner with your infinite light. Bless every member of this family. Protect your body, your soul, and your spirit. Strengthen our faith so that neither darkness, nor fear, nor shadows can touch us. Guide us with your love and grant peace in every thought, word, and action. Lord, we ask that guardian angels remain around us. May they accompany us in every moment of danger and strengthen us in prayer. May family unity be an impenetrable shield. May love and faith be eternal barriers against evil, and may every act of devotion be transformed into light that illuminates our lives and our homes. Mother Mary, intercede for us and cover with your sacred mantle all who live in this house. Protect our offspring, our health, our paths, and our hearts. May we always walk in the light, far from evil, firm in faith and guided by your mercy. Lord, we declare that our family is sealed by divine protection, that nothing and no one can separate us from the love of God or the guidance of the Virgin. Thank you for listening to our prayer, for responding to our faith, and for always being with us. Amen. Sons and daughters of Mary, if you have remained until the end, this prayer now covers your home and every person you love. The protection doesn't end here. Every day that you repeat it with devotion, every time you bless your family, you will multiply the light and spiritual strength that Mary has promised us. Remember, those who act with faith, obedience, and love become beacons of light in the midst of darkness, and their home becomes an invincible refuge, protected by God and the Virgin. Today, we have received not only warnings, but complete guidance for surviving and thriving spiritually, keeping the family safe under the mantle of divine protection.